Hey, Ryan from Modula Racks here. We're just about to do a Rhino Rack backbone install on a Jeep Wrangler JL. This is the brand new one. So here's our JL. And we're gonna be putting the Pioneer platform on this one. And we've got all of our Rhino Rack products laid out here for the backbone kit. Kind of nice. They give you this little map so you can confirm that all your parts are there and how they're all laid out. We've got a bunch of parts ready, so we're going to hit the instructions here and get started and see what it takes to install this thing. So the first step is to simply remove the 3 Torx bolts that hold the fiberglass top in place, like we've done over here. Next step is we're installing the main backbone frame here into the hardtop. So we're just going to slide it into position here. And then we'll use the existing hardtop bolts to hold it in place. So we've got the initial part of the framework and the back side of the hardtop here, fastened down with the factory Torx bolts, and you just snug them down to a, I think it's 8 to 10 foot-pounds. All right, now we're just going to take the front section of the backbone frame and basically line it up with the rear section and put the factory bolt in the bottom of it to hold it in position. So the next step is where there's no turning back. Now we got to start drilling. So we're going to use the factory, well, not the factory, sorry, the Rhino Rack frame. Nice thing about this is basically once it's held in position, you're just going to take these 2 bolts here, or holes, using a 5/16 drill bit, and you're going to drill through, trying to keep the same angle as is on the plate here, which ends up being like a 30-degree angle or so. So we've drilled the 2 over here, and you can see those holes go through, and that's what we're going to be bolting this frame through the top with. So now that we got our holes drilled on the rear of both the brackets, it's time to grab the outside component, and that's going to be one of these 6 pods for the outside of the fiberglass top. Making sure to grab the right one. This one here, you can see says rear left. That'll focus up. And then, so we're going to take that one, and then the other one, which we've already checked, is this guy. Oh no, sorry. See, that's not correct. I was wrong. This guy being rear right. So the next step, after you've gotten the rear pod installed, by bolting it all in place with the provided hardware, then you take the first piece of the backbone, these are right and left hand side. Basically you're going to use that by putting it in place on the back pod, and then putting it in place with the front pod. That's going to then, or sorry, the middle pod, that's going to give you your positioning. So basically once you've got this bracket, which is going to give you your positioning, there's also Rhino Rack gives you a little tool here that has a spacer, 6.5 there. I know it's upside down, but that's 6.5 mil. You slide that underneath your bracket or underneath your pod. It lines up perfectly, gives you both your height and you've got your length from front to back using this bracket. Basically it's all just in there loosely, and then you can drill your 2 holes for this. So we've got our rear pod and our middle pod installed with all the framework in place. We'll give this a little tidy up before we're done. And now we have to install our 3rd pod, which is this guy here. And a little bit hard to tell, but if you look closely, you'll see here, FL. That's front left. The other one says obviously FR for front right. So we're on the driver's side, left-hand side. We'll just place this up here for now. We're going to end up using this same bar to basically get our positioning. So we'll take it off and we'll put it from the middle to the front. So here we've removed the bar from the rear pod to the middle pod and added it from the middle to the front. Then we're going to use our handy dandy Rhino Rack spacer tool here. Instead of the 6.5 that we used in the middle, we're going to use the 11 on this side to make sure we have our correct height, like so. Okay, so now we have our final third front pod ready for installation. We've got it lined up using the bar. We're going to put our 11 mil spacer in the front of it here to make sure it's at the correct height. We're then also going to put in some drill stops that come with the kit into the holes, which sit in the center. And we're going to start with a 1/4 inch drill bit. All right, we've drilled the holes using the front pod and the provided spacers for templates for our 1/4 inch holes. We're going to remove the pod and then we're going to enlarge those holes to 1/2 inch. So once you've got the holes enlarged to 1/2 inch holes, making sure to only go through the top layer of the fiberglass top. We do need to go through the second inside layer, but Rhino suggests doing it by putting their spacers back in place and then bringing your pod back in place and lining it up and then drilling with a 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch drill bit again. And the only reason I think that they do this is so that you have enough spacer that you don't go through and hit the metal roll bar on the inside. So now that we've got this lined up, we're going to do our 1/2 inch drill, 1/4 inch drill. All right, so we've drilled that. We'll remove this front pod again, take our 2 spacers out, and now we're going to drill. So what we've basically done is we've drilled those 1/2 inch holes through the top right up in here. We're going to enlarge those to 1/2 inch as well, but Rhino Rack provides us a spacer tool, again, to make sure we don't go too far and nick up this crossbar inside. So 1/2 inch drill bit is the next piece. Rhino Rack gives you this nice big 1/2 inch drill spacer. Put it on your drill. You should end up with 40 mil of space on the end there. Make sure you do, you're going to want that. Then basically going from the top side, we're going to be able to drill through those holes, making sure you're at a 90-degree angle. And this drill spacer is going to make sure that we don't go, again, too far and nick the inside of this cross rail or this roll bar. All right, there we have it, our 1/2 inch holes going through, which will allow us to put our front pod on. And then also we've got a bracket on the underside, which allows us to grab the bolt hole here in the roll bar and secure this whole thing basically to the factory roll. Don't forget to use some sealant to make sure that it's a watertight seal. Then put the pod in place, put the provided hardware through the holes with the spacers, and then you add the bracket to the underside. And this bracket here then allows you, sorry about the sunshine there. So this bracket is where you attach underneath, and then it allows you to run this bolt through the frame rail or the roll bar and basically attach to that bracket, which is then attached to that pod. Now, something just to be aware of, this inside bracket, when it comes to putting it in place, it does require some force to get it in position. It kind of feels like it's not going to fit, but it actually fits beautifully. It just needs a good little line it up and then kind of rotate and push it in, and then these bolts will pop through. All right, so the final piece is to take the bracket that we were using outside for all of our alignment and to basically span it from the front, or from the front of the Rhino Rack to the rear, and bolt it into position. Like so. And that pretty much completes our Rhino Rack backbone install on this 2019 Jeep JL Wrangler We are going to put a Pioneer tray on here with quick release legs. We're going to do that next. Hopefully show you a couple pics of that after we give this thing a clean, a vacuum, and a wipe down.